Hello, everyone. We are with Erin Tusa. Again, we're going to talk about holistic medicine. And if you want to continue watching us, please go and subscribe to Panta Calho Transition channel to see other notification for new interviews. Be with us till the end. Join us if you have any question about holistic medicine, food, and health and mindset. Welcome to my show, Erin. I'm so glad to have you. I can see your energy.
Hey, Cynthia. Yes, thank you so much for having me. Like I said, you're like the most friendly and organized, and like the visuals,
Oh,
and
thank
like,
you.
oh, I love it. I love it. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thank
having
you so
me.
much. So let's introduce yourself and tell us, why do you do what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I would love to. What a loaded question. I love it. So my name's Erin. I'm from Guelph, Ontario, and I'm a personal trainer by not by not by choice in the beginning. And so for me, in my experience, I've had a lot of my own personal struggles with my health and with my weight in particular. When I grew up in kind of like a Christian household, and it was a great environment. My family was so supportive, but I remember coming home from middle school and just being like outcasted for my weight and my size. And I remember even one day my high school bully saying to me in front of everyone, "You're just like a beached whale." And I'm like, oh, coming home, binging on sugar, binging on food, like in my pantry, isolating myself. It made no sense because I know I didn't want to feel
I
those.
can't imagine you. You were fat because I see you very fit right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
changed for sure. And so initially this like experience that I had with bullying and stuff in middle school really got to me, and I struggled a lot internally with my own behavior, essentially like going all all in on food, and then all the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Which is kind of what we might talk about a bit today, is some of the ways that we've been socialized around what it means to be healthy is very narrow. And that was my narrow definition when I was growing up. Like health equals weight, so to speak, right? And so after kind of getting reconditioned with those messages outside, inside, everywhere, I really internalized that. And I found myself in this protective feedback loop of like binging on sugar after feeling isolated at social events, and then trying hard the next week to get back on track, and then binging again after feeling a lot, right? So there was this constant kind of like, yeah, roller coaster for me of like on the wagon, off the wagon, right? And so, yeah, so that's kind of the reason that I got into training, because I started to move my body in a different way. Initially, it was to lose weight for sure. I was like, okay, I'm going to start strength training. I'm going to start doing these things, you know? And then what happened was I became pretty obsessive about that, especially about my weight, that I actually herniated a disc in my low back, and just so much pain from that fear, essentially, of not looking a certain way or being a certain way or perceived as a certain way. And so I kind of went in the other extreme, becoming a personal trainer, going hard, right, training, whatever, all this stuff. And then I just felt myself in that same feedback loop of like, either I would overeat on the weekends and then start training super hardcore and restrictive during the week, and vice versa, vice versa. And I just thought to myself, like, this isn't health. Like, this isn't what it feels, this shouldn't be what it feels like to feel and be healthy and to feel safe. And I just didn't feel that way. And so I found that a lot with the clients that I started working with as well. Is like, what the heck? Like everyone knows why. It's good to be healthy. We know our why. We know why we want to do these things, which is great. But oftentimes I find that there's like this protective resistance sometimes that puts the brake on us kind of going forward and achieving what we want to achieve. And I found myself in that pattern, and I found my clients in that pattern. And so I was like, really just taking a step back. I went through like a coaching certification to kind of work through this behavior change stuff a bit more, because I realized it's not necessarily what we do, it's like why we do it. And so anyways, now I work with clients on a more holistic level to help them heal this all or nothing relationship with food and their bodies, and help them to start to orient to their health in a different and more holistic, bigger picture way. So that's
So, Erin, you mentioned a very interesting point about weight loss. So, I know that the first thing you feel your body is not really working very well, functioning very well, is weight, right? But I think the problem is you go to different diets because you just heard about it and without actually consulting with a specialist or somebody who knows about the holistic way. Let's say in functional medicine, I didn't plan to lose weight, right? My weight was always okay. I was okay in an okay range. But as soon as I had my baby, then all the struggle starts when the started when the pandemic started. Everybody was like isolated, you can't go out, especially in Canada, we have a cold weather. So we can't go and take exercise, even walking, which is very easy way to lose weight. So
that's awesome.
then I did a lot of labs, like functional labs. So, oh my goodness, there are so many things which is not in balance. So I try to balance my body, and then with my surprise, I saw that, oh my goodness, I lost weight. You see?
I love
So
that story.
the problem is some people go and lose weight. They try to eliminate carbohydrate forever, and then deprive themselves from fruits, vegetables, and then they try to lose weight significantly and fast, quickly. You know, to me, this is not the right way because you hurt your body so much. And when you get back to normal weight again, you start eating because you deprived yourself from whatever you couldn't, right? So, yeah.
I
So
love
to
that point. I
yeah,
love
to
that
my
point.
understanding, it's good to have a holistic look at your body. Is
Love
there any
that.
problem that you can't lose weight? Maybe you have some underlying issues that you can't, right? So let me okay, tell me about your own clients to see if they had depression, if they had any hidden issues or any health problem they came to you. Yeah.
Well, a lot. A lot of the time we put so much metaphorical like weight on like our food, for example, like you said, right? It's like, okay, like I've got to watch my calories, I've got to, monitor all those things. And that's what I've been told. That's what the diet or that's what the industry, right? Like you said, I'm not consulting an expert, so to speak. I'm just relying on the information that kind of comes at me. And so oftentimes we put so much weight on the food when I've seen clients come to me too, and like they've metaphorically held on to weight, like in their relationship with their husband, and then when they get divorced they lose weight, because I believe, and this is something that I think and I've been noticing a lot in the work I do with clients, that our weight is actually a lot to do with how safe we feel, both physically and emotionally, right? So it's interesting that you said once you got your blood work done and you had like gotten more data around what was actually going on under the surface, hormones, as we go through menopause, like we get that drop in estrogen, right? So we're going to hold on to fat sometimes, but these are all protective outputs of our body and our nervous system. So oftentimes I find that, yeah, like the idea of just focusing on the food and becoming, like, for me, like, becoming hyper obsessed with that stuff. Like you said, we go low carb, we cut it all out, we do all these things, right? And really that might not even be the true issue, right? So I think, yeah, I think it's cool because once we increase those safety signals, and this is the work that I do with clients, which is cool, but it's like, okay, my hormones are functioning better underneath the surface. My gut, my biome is functioning. I'm able to sleep better. I'm getting more sunlight. I'm able to move my body with less pain. There's less inflammation. So all this stuff, right? But what we've been learned or what we've been taught is such a narrow definition of what it means to be healthy. And you're right. It's like, it's such a bigger picture. And there's stuff that goes on under the surface that sometimes we might not even know to think about. And then what happens is that, like, if we internalize that, which is the interesting piece, right? If you went and you said, okay, after my baby, I'm, getting down to it. And then you try all these things like exercise and eat less or whatnot, and you still don't see the results that you want to see, we start to internalize that as, what the hell? What's wrong with me? Something must be up. And so that essentially creates even more judgments and even more intensity, which pulls us into even more extreme ways of being around our food and our exercise. But that's very much a protective, like, response. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question
Yeah,
or no?
you actually mentioned something in your resume. I mean,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you said bad habits is protective. How come?
Oh yeah, oh yes, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, oftentimes we we develop these, like, a lot of people call them, like, coping mechanisms, and ways that we can find a sense of excitement, a sense of relaxation or joy or distraction or all these things, right? And so when we feel at risk in some way, and this is on a very, like, panacea, like, this is subconscious, like, I'm not walking around feeling like scared on the regular or anything, but it's how we've internalized health and what we make that mean about us that ultimately puts us into these protective coping mechanisms or these feedback loops where we go through, we have a trigger which activates what I call, like, our story essentially. And then we go into these stress responses, and then we become very all or nothing in these stress responses, which is totally natural. When our amygdala gets, like, stressed out, we can, like, it makes meaning for us really quick. It's like you choose the toothbrush or you don't brush your teeth. It's not like, what is this toothbrush doing? How am I invested in it? Like, we don't have time to, like, so we just make meaning split in the moment, right? And oftentimes our reactive or our response is mostly reactive based on what we've internalized from the past. And so this feedback loop that keeps happening with our bad habits, so to speak, right, can kind of make us lose more self-trust, lose more insight for ourselves and our body, really become disconnected, and then we don't even know what the hell is going on. And so anyways, and then it can spiral and spiral and spiral. So yeah, I like to think about bad habits as protective, and also too because it helps us, I think, get curious versus get defensive about, I don't do that, like, that's not who I am, and it's like, what is that giving me right now? What is that offering me, what I'm doing and what I'm choosing to do? Does that make sense?
Exactly, because when you have a trigger, you see that your body is very sensitive. You want to eat something, you can't resist craving
Yeah,
because something bad happened to you. You had a bad
exactly.
day.
Yeah,
So the
it can
problem is
be.
not the craving, because the problem is actually recovering from that bad day,
I love
right?
that you actually said that like
Maybe
that,
if you
recovering.
can find an alternative to find how to find an alter to see how you can recover from bad day. What do you have
Yeah.
to do?
What?
Maybe you have to do some relaxing thing. Maybe you have to go to nature. I don't know, call your friend or something. Then you forget about sugar.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's actually a good example of, like, calling your friend, going out in nature, like, these, like, bigger, like, nervous system tools is basically what I work like call with like that's what I talk about with clients is we're actually sending signals of safety to our nervous system by connecting, going out in nature. And so that gives our amygdala a little bit of a chance to like whew, not react and actually respond versus based off of what we want to choose for ourselves. And we could be like physically unsafe, like to your point, our blood sugar can be off, our hormones can be, like as we go through menopause, that can all change. And that is a sign that our body is physically unsafe. Blood sugar dips, gut microbiome, inflammation, right? So as we work on increasing physical and psychological safety signals, we're able to process, like you said, the bad things. I love that you said that. The bad things that have happened to us, and we're actually able to like stay consistent because oftentimes I find, and you can hit me back on this with what you think, Pantia, but I do find that it's not necessarily that we maybe sometimes I shouldn't say this, but we do know what to do per se. Like we do need help, we need support to like do those things for sure, and we need the right blood work and all that kind of stuff. But oftentimes it's not really it's not necessarily that like we know what to do, but sometimes that doesn't really make a difference, right? Like we are humans that make decisions based off of how we feel. So yeah, so that's kind of like the physical and the psychological stuff I think goes so hand in hand. What do you think about that?
I see you shouldn't watch the TV. Yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
because you try to distract yourself to watch TV and then you say, "Oh, let's eat something." I cannot watch TV without like
Well,
chewing,
yeah, yes,
or eating like
totally.
nuts or
Totally.
nuts is
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
probably something cake or whatever. you
Yeah.
know.
And I often find that like pairing, almost the coupling of like Netflix and like chilling and like eating with, like in front of the TV and stuff is oftentimes because we as a society are maybe, and this could be maybe not the case for everyone, but in my clients, I notice that like because we're emotionally deprived in our day to day and we are doing things, obviously, life's not all butterflies and rainbows. But once we feel like we're losing choice and we're out of choice, then that protective response of Netflix and chills and all that kind of stuff comes because we're almost like dissatisfied from what we're choosing to do for ourselves throughout the day, the year, the month, the week. So it's almost like a death by 1,000 paper cuts. I like to think of it as like it's not just because you're tired. It could be, but it could be because you're ruminating over what your boss said and you're double checking your kids and you're taking them home from school and you're organizing everyone else but yourself too. And
Yeah,
so yeah, anyways, it can get pretty deep.
exactly.
It's hard.
Yeah, we all of us need distraction, right? All of us
Yeah,
need
yeah,
distraction.
yeah, for sure.
So we always go to the easiest way. So which is
The
yeah, which
well-worn
and
path.
the easiest way always need eating.
It's just,
Yeah,
well, food is
yeah,
about how, like, food is like about safety. Like, I think
yeah,
about it too. Like,
exactly.
as you were a kid and you were in your mom's womb, once you got fed, or if you had cried and got a snack, that was the sign
I
that you
like
were
that.
safe.
Yeah. But the point is, I remember whenever you are very, very busy with something productive, you are writing something or you are doing something that it really occupied your mind, or you're doing something that you really love, you're painting or um, rehearsal for the music or whatever, you don't feel like you have to eat something because you are very busy creating and you forget to eat. Right? that,
Yeah,
that
and
that's what I
that's
mean, like, so you that's what if you find is if you find something replacing watching TV,
yeah, I
which is
know it's so
yeah, because you're doing nothing, you just watch
yeah.
TV, right? But if you make yourself more active and doing something especially with your mind, something that makes you happy. So I think everybody does it. Everybody, I mean, has it, but we haven't discovered or talent maybe.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. So we exile certain parts of ourselves as we go through our lives to inherently stay safe, even that's if that's real or perceived, like you said. And then we lose touch, you're right, with those things that actually like give us back energy and fill our cup up, like you said. And I think too, like it's so good that you're saying all this is like everyone does it. It's so true. It's so protective, and in my work I like to say it's protective, but oftentimes when we feel out of choice in our lives, like you said, without being able to create and do things that make you happy, the more and more out of choice that we feel, the more and more we're going to look to food or skipping exercise and just chilling on the couch for that inherent, like short term, for sure, safety signal. And so, yeah, like as we start to I don't know, connect, I guess, to, I know it sounds so like obvious, right? Like to like just connect with yourself. What's the big
Yeah.
deal, you know? But there are a lot of ways that we societally like puts different
Erin, I
pressure.
remember something.
Yeah, tell me.
Um, we had um, exam, a big exam to enter university. In
Oh yeah.
Iran, is like it's a really big deal,
Oh, is it
and
eh?
yeah,
True.
and I tried to distract myself for not studying, so just go out and doing something and come back. And then I said, okay, let's bring everything inside the room and lock the door and just do something. So I brought a lot of fruits, some water and juice, everything that I liked. And then I start studying and I say in the beginning, oh, okay, what should I do? Okay, let's eat something right now. And then because everything was so healthy, and I had no way like to go out. There was no excuse for me. I studied there and I sit. That was the only way, because I said that's exactly for um the opposite. Like
Right.
when you do nothing, you want to eat, right? But if you have everything beside you, like all the healthiest stuff, bring something to chew. I know, like nuts,
Well, it is
fruit, something
relaxing
that
to
is, yeah,
chew.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that is like like a nervous system, like exhaling, chewing, moving your tongue. Like these are all like neuro drills that you can give your body to help it to feel like a little bit more safe. So I actually love that you say I brought all of like what like felt good to me in that small room. And so it's like when we feel like we're in that fight, flight, like nervous system response, like if we're thinking about like the body holistically, like I know you like to talk about, our nervous system is so involved in that. So if we're in that flight response of like worrying, gotta steady, ruminating, and all that kind of stuff, like mobilizing and giving yourself a chance to take action is a safety signal, even if it's in the smallest way. Like you said, I'm just going to get my favorite snack, whatever, get it in the room. And then I'm here with myself and I'm chewing and I feel good, you know? So yeah, like that act of just like mobilizing is a safety signal and helps us move through or like complete the stress response cycle that Dr. Emily Nagoski and Brene Brown talks a lot about, like completing the stress response cycle. So it's figuring out like what nervous system response might have you been in there and like how did you move through that with those safety signals. I love that you said chewing because that's totally true. Like it is so true.
So, tell me about your website. What do you have there? Do you have any
Yeah.
freebies? Any good thing for
True.
for my audience?
Yeah, seriously, right? Yeah. Give me
Yeah.
the well, I guess like first, well, I have a lot of tools that we can either discuss, or I do have a takeaway as far as helping just to build some awareness around that like external event, internal trigger. And so there's oftentimes I like to give clients just a little bit of a feedback tool so they can start checking in to be like, is this my blood sugar dropping and I need to eat more, yeah, like protein, fat, healthy carbs? Is that what's happening when I overeat or Netflix and chill? Cool. I need to know that. Get more data around it. Is it that my hormones are off and I need to be able to gain a little bit of muscle and actually eat a bit more to balance that HPA access, you know? Or is it that I feel like something bad happened? Is it that I'm feeling sad? Is it that I'm feeling down and out, and not being able to take action. So a lot of the time I like to give the tool of what is at the tail end of your bad habit, for example. So say you're like scrolling on Instagram and you should go to bed, but it's like, oh, I just want a little longer. I don't want to go to bed yet. Oftentimes that's a protective response of us not getting our needs met in some capacity, right? Or you're Netflix and chilling, or you're eating food that doesn't make sense for you. What is at the tail end of your unaligned choice at the moment? Do you feel, it's an acronym, so I can go over it, but do you feel tired? And that's like from a physical standpoint, like blood sugar crashing and stuff like that. Do I feel inadequate? That's a huge one I find for clients, like feeling less than or not enough tends to pull us into that protective bad habit, like feedback loop. Do I feel anxious or uncertain? Like, hello, COVID. That's like all uncertainty. No wonder we were all eating more than we maybe wanted and feeling all of this uncertainty. And so we just don't know how to manage that. Or do I feel lonely? And lonely doesn't necessarily mean you're like physically alone. Like you can be around people and still not feel like your social needs are getting met or your voice is being heard, And I hope that you feel that way right now, like that I'm not taking up too much time, but that,
no, that's amazing. Yeah.
So that's like the tail. So just to start to be like, okay, is this actually that I'm tired physically, or is it something emotionally happening?
What is the acronym?
Tail. What's at the tail end?
Oh, I like that. So
The tail
tired,
end.
anxious.
Yeah.
What is L?
Lonely. Tired,
Lonely.
anxious, inadequate, or lonely are like the biggest triggers I find.
What is the E one? E?
No, sorry. Tail. T-A-I.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. What's at the tail?
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Like a dog, like tail. Yeah. So it's like tired, anxious, or tired, inadequate, anxious or uncertain, or lonely. Yeah, those are big triggers for people. And so, yeah, like in my work with clients, I really like to start to expand our definition of what it means to be healthy and start to like center these safety signals with eating the right foods for us, getting support, having connection, being able to understand what I like to call like our story, which actually trips us up from making the moves that we want to make for ourselves and all that kind of stuff. So on my website, there's like a bunch of things. I write some blogs. You can read more about all this stuff if you want. But yeah, I just think it's a cool way to think about health, because it's like, you're not wrong for doing these things. It's just protective. It makes total sense. It's like, oh,
that's a bit of relief.
Yes, it's a release. I agree.
Okay, we are almost at the end of the show. If you want to add anything, make us happy, please do.
Seriously, right? Don't want to end the tail end on a bad note there. No, but I think you're right? It's like, we do need support, we do need help, we do need like experts to show us these things. Like, I didn't even know how to move my body properly before I got a coach and a trainer myself, so I do think we need support, and it sucks that it's not always accessible. Like, I think my life changed when I got a coach and a mentor type of thing. So I just wish it was a bit like more accessible for people, because it's great. We need each other. Exactly. But I think, I know, it's like, we're not alone, or we shouldn't feel alone. I think like understanding that, like, we do need the experts. And in my work with clients, I like to think about like us being like the drivers and the motivators. And like, we are really self-authoring our own health questions, journey, process, weight loss. Is like, if we can kind of like put the power back and be more in choice, it's like, we don't feel we need to be as extreme. We feel more safe. We feel more able to show up as ourselves. And it's crazy how that like changes things, because oftentimes, and I can go on a tangent, so you might have to hold me back, girl, but we put a lot of weight on our weight, and oftentimes we project so much onto weight loss. And that's cool. I think don't cancel me, because I think weight loss is still a valid goal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we need to like,
everybody
right? I know. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's still a valid goal. And I think like we put so much pressure on ourselves to be certain ways, or I did at least, that it like held me back from like doing stuff like talking, meeting you, like being a real human, So we hold ourselves back because of our weight, but really we think that weight loss will give us the confidence, and that can be true. And there's a lot of research out now that confidence is actually a skill set, and we can start to build that and build trust and safety now, so that weight loss becomes a byproduct of just living into our truth.
I like it. Yeah, weight loss can be only a byproduct, not only the goal.
The driving force, because it
Yeah,
only gets
yeah,
us, yeah.
yeah. Because the goal should be being healthy. That should be your goal, and the last, I mean, ultimatum, and that
Yeah,
the last thing that you can actually work for it.
yeah,
So your website, erintusa.com,
yeah,
ERINTUSA.com,
that's right.
and you have Instagram and a
And
Facebook train with
I
Tusa.
do have a Facebook community that people can join called The Soul Hunger. The work that I do with clients is basically called the Soul Hunger Method, which is basically like feeding our soul and feeling this sense of aliveness first and building these skill sets. I'm launching a small group for the Soul Hunger. I've done a few beta rounds and it's gone really well, because I feel like, just like we're talking about, it's like you learn from me, I learn from you. Like, it's such a cool environment to start to feel like we're not alone, all this stuff. So I'm launching a small group option in the fall where people can hop on and learn about this stuff, like in more of a group setting and stuff too. So yeah, there's lots of stuff on my website and totally on my Instagram. I like to do lots of stuff there about this safety thing, because it's kind of
Yeah.
not a lot of,
Instagram is so interesting, but you should have enough energy to put a lot of effort there.
yeah, that's it, right? Well, once we feel more safe, and as I healed my all or nothing, like I do have more energy to do things that
Right.
fill me up, right? But thank you so much for having me, Pinty. I feel like I
Yeah,
talk too
thank you
much.
so much,
I
Erin.
feel like
No, that was great. That was
you're
very
such a
energetic. I
cutie.
love it. Thank you so much.
And then you
Hopefully,
just let me know,
yeah,
yeah, what to follow up with and stuff. Yeah,
sure,
that's
sure.
great.
I will let you know.
That's
Okay,
great.
hopefully I can see you and bring you here again and again.
That would be great. I would love that. That's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Please subscribe to Quanta Calhoun Transition channel and order my book, The Gap, in Amazon. Thank you for watching.